Kids are expensive. Like, it costs on average between $14,000 and $30,000 a year to raise a child. So how can it be good to, in this cost of living crisis, put yourself in that hole from which you can never escape?
It's true. Having children is expensive, and in the lifetime of having a child from birth through to about 18, costs parents about $250,000, I believe. There's anecdotal evidence that having kids actually increases your earning ability. So the more kids that you have, the more money you make.
When you have kids, there's anecdotal evidence to say that your earning capacity increases, but how much of that becomes disposable income that's devoted to your happiness? And how much of it is devoted to raising a child to which you are a slave?
Growing up in a house of 6 kids, look.
6 kids?
Yeah.
See what happens?
I'm the youngest of 6 kids.
Oh my
now,
God. Did you meet your mum? What
yeah,
happened?
when my nan died at 90, surrounded by like 300 children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
Doesn't that sound so annoying?
Do you have kids yourself?
I have one beautiful daughter, love her to bits, man.
But
and how do you, so you don't have any form of connection with her or anything?
No, of course I do.
Okay.
This is just a random internet bullshit debate.
So you think that having kids for every human on the planet is absurd?
Well, I
You
think,
shouldn't have kids.
especially in the first world, like, you have access to an almost limitless privilege. Like, explore some art, make something interesting. Like, anyone can just rut in the gutter and squirt out a child. It's not particularly magnificent.
You don't know that the singularity is coming. That would...
Yeah, that was like a Terminator. Like, the singularity is coming, the world is ending.
It looks pretty dire. It looks pretty shitty.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence is going to perceive awareness.
Yeah,
And
but
then
then
it's not going to need us.
yeah, so then why make some fucking art? Why are you saying
'Cause we've got to
spend
fill
your
the time
time
now, don't we?
making the art?
We've got to fill the time. We're here now. We've got to fill the time with something. It might as well be great art.
Okay, but are we actually
because-
doing it? Other people that don't have kids, are they actually spending their time making the art? No. I blame my kids on being disorganized
I
all the
spend my
time.
time making art.
I blame my
Yeah,
kids.
we do.
Yeah,
I
we
blame
both
my
do.
kids
Yeah.
on
You're
not
looking at a couple
like,
artists right here.
Yeah.
on being late. Yeah, fuck off. That's not true.
I don't know what this has become. This is no longer a debate. This is an attack.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the debate show, and today we've got a very special topic. Is having kids good for you versus not good for you? We've got these 2 gentlemen on the right debating that they're not good for you, and these 2 individuals on the left saying they are good for you. Let's go straight for it. Defend your statement.
Well, I just think that defends itself, really. Kids are expensive. Like, it costs on average between $14,000 and $30,000 a year to raise a child. So how can it be good to, in this cost of living crisis, put yourself in that hole from which you can never escape?
It's true. Having children is expensive, and in the lifetime of having a child from birth through to about 18, costs parents about $250,000, I believe. I don't know if that's in the US or Australian currency though. But there's anecdotal evidence that having kids actually increases your earning ability. So the more kids that you have, the more money you make. So it is usually actually intensely motivating to have kids, because you realize that you have to provide a financial security and also have the stable environment for them. My ears just popped, finally.
Dude, okay, so when you have kids, there's anecdotal evidence to say that your earning capacity increases, but how much of that becomes disposable income that's devoted to your happiness? And how much of it is devoted to raising a child to which you are a slave?
Thank you for asking this, Chris Pacillo. I would argue that having the child is like your disposable income is going to on the child, which is your happiness.
Also, to point something out from my own personal experience, I've done work all over Perth doing electrical work, and I would point out that whenever I go to wealthy suburbs, they seem to only have 1 or 2 kids tops, and they spend a lot of money on those kids. I go to the poorer suburbs, and they're getting up to like 10 kids, and I guarantee you they're not spending $250,000 on each of those kids. You know? Yeah. So it's like there's clearly someone hacking the system and getting away with not spending very much money on these kids. So I don't think there is much of an economic
And so hang on a sec, are you trying to say that it's good that there are hordes and hordes of poor people being pumped out into the world with very little money spent on their education and breeding?
Yes.
Okay, and
think
why
it's-
is that a good thing?
Survival of the fittest.
That's lunacy. That is proper lunacy. And you took a turn at the end of that point there. There are families of 10 kids in those poor suburbs that they didn't want to have 10 kids. They probably didn't want to have any kids. They were probably being on our side. But they never learned about contraception. So they're not going to teach their kids about contraception or how
I
to
would
earn
argue
money.
that you're being very classist with that attitude.
100% I am.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, there is an argument to say that children or people that want to have children should definitely be educated. Sex education, education generally, and upward mobility are all indicated in lowering national fertility. So by having a better educated population, you're actually going to decrease the rate of population growth.
And where does that education come from?
The education is provided by the government usually.
The government,
but
usually, at schools?
At schools,
Yes?
but what you need to
Is
provide
less
that
children
education,
in those schools,
No,
which
what-
are filling up too
what
quickly.
you need is taxpayers, and to get taxpayers you need children who will grow up and join the workforce and be taxpayers so they can educate
That
children.
Alex talking about, are they taxpayers?
Yeah, they will. They're going to be working class taxpayers. Absolutely. The people that are less likely to be taxpayers are going to be the rich kids.
No, the
because they're going
government
to be
needs
able to
spend
afford
less, and then it would
an
require
accountant.
less taxes.
No, the education doesn't come from the government. I know, I'm in education. I work as a teacher sometimes. And I know how much education actually happens in the schools. And then from the parents, it needs to come from. But those parents aren't educated themselves. And so they grow up, they have 7 kids, and then they're not educating those kids. The kids aren't learning a lot in school. The learning they get in school is reinforced at home. And when it's not being reinforced at home, it's not happening. And so when we have these families that grow up in these environments, they don't learn anything, and the problem becomes more. And those 7 kids have 7 kids themselves, and then you've got 49 little terrible little tyrants running around.
So I think the solution here is that some people need a permit to have children.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some people need a
I couldn't
permit to
agree
have
more.
children, and other people should be forced to have more children. So let's make the rich people have 10 children, and then let's say go to the poor people.
No,
and
because
say
the
it's
rich people are busy. Anyway.
So, but where also you said there's anecdotal evidence that
Yeah, but
your
that,
children
that,
are
that
happy.
busyness is pretty much because there's no such real thing as trickle down economics anymore. That's kind of done away with.
There's never been trickle down.
Exactly.
You don't think children are happiness?
No, there was a study that I just read about in a bloody article on the way over here, because that's how I roll, where they interviewed 700 women about what are the mothers, about what are the happiest parts of the day, and the only thing they ranked lower than spending time with their children is doing housework, which is AKA cleaning up after their children. Like everything else, being on the phone, being at work, taking a drive was all ranked higher than spending time with their children, because they're not happiness. Because life inherently is like a struggle towards death. It's like a painful experience. That's the truth of the matter. There's fleeting moments of happiness, but on the whole, you are just progressively spiraling towards the end, right? So if you don't have a child, the sum total of happiness and misery in the world remains the same. But if you do have a child, you've increased the sum total of misery in the world. And I think that is a comprehensive argument against having children.
Let me just back that up. Let me say thank you for keeping it nice and light, by the way. I appreciate that. That's good. But also, in terms of that, there's loads of other things. We talk about all the economic part, but then there's just free time. I don't have kids. I have free time.
And
all
did
the
you
time.
prepare for this
I
debate?
don't need to, because I know I'm right. I use my
Okay.
free time to do whatever I want.
So you don't have
That's why it's
kids,
good for
but
me.
you didn't have time to prepare.
Oh, I had plenty of time. I chose
okay,
not
but
to.
you chose not
I'm
to.
better.
Did you
I'm
hear
better
that?
off the cuff.
Do you decide who wins? Because I just want to say
Oh, I don't decide. The people.
The
damn
people
it.
decide. You can't get
Did you hear that?
You can't get nerd points.
That's
not how this
I was
works.
really
Can't come in
my
with
whole
3
strategy
pages
was
of
sucking
notes.
up to you. This is I wish you told me how this worked better. Okay, so your argument that everything is like heading towards destruction, this is true, but on, I suppose, a spiritual level, saying that it's worse to bring somebody into the world because they're just going to suffer and die is like, I feel
That's
like
not what I said. I said you are increasing the sum total of suffering.
But you're also increasing the sum total of joy and pleasure and happiness. And there are definitely studies that have backed up what you said, like the one that you referred to. But it's also been found that men, especially black men, are found to be happier when they're fathers than when they're not fathers. Parents generally are happier later in life than people that were child-free.
I don't know.
How much later though?
Yeah.
Like, how long are we waiting? Are we waiting until they're like 60, 70 and then they've got like 10 years left?
No,
because you could
pretty
just
much
have
as soon
free
as the
time
kids
for
move
80
out
years
and
be
become
happy.
not dependent on them, they're happier than their child-free counterparts. But they are also happier than when they had kids in their house. But I didn't want to argue your case for you, so I was hoping
Don't worry, we've got it.
you wouldn't question that.
Let me just point something out. So, like, growing up in a house of 6 kids, look,
6 kids?
Yeah.
See what happens?
I'm the youngest of 6 kids.
Oh
right?
my
Now,
God. Did you meet your mum? What?
Yeah,
how
me
does
and my
that
mum are
even-
tired, but like this is the thing. Look, might be an accident, okay? I'll own up to it. But like growing up in a house with too many children, it's actually like the memories of it are awesome. It's like for the most part. But every relationship has clashes. So it's like people say, oh, a relationship. People say, oh, if you have kids, you have more free time. I would have more free time if I wasn't in a relationship. But being in a relationship is kind of cool. So, and it's like my mum who's had 6 kids, it's like she said to me, it's like, yes, I probably have too many kids, but like, would I change anything? No, because like my kids are ultimately my happiness.
Your mum said she probably had too many kids?
Yes.
Wait, so she said her kids are altered. Like, why does she have such a hollow laugh that she needs to like outsource her joy?
Well, look, my dad's a bit of a dick, but we'll get back to that later. So, and then like when my nan died at 90, surrounded by like 300 children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren,
Doesn't that
and
sound
great-great-grandchildren.
so annoying, though?
Yeah.
Look, kind of, but like it's like there's got to be some part of us all because again, I agree with Chris. Life is a struggle towards death, but like surely that struggle is a lot easier, a lot more reflective, and when you get to the finish line, probably a lot more comforting when you're surrounded by loved ones. Some of them might be pretty fucking lame.
What do you think the impact on your death on your loved ones is going to be?
My death?
More
No,
misery.
but other people, like possibly some.
Yeah. But having that misery, that is a testament to the relationship that you've had. And it's a sign that you've had a fulfilling, close relationship and that you've got something, like the loss can only be there because there was something there to begin with. You can't lose something that
But the
wasn't
loss
there.
is still there. So
Yeah,
like
of
the
course,
misery, so you're
but
still
putting
on the side of
weight-
misery?
But
Is
you
that
are
what I'm hearing
weighting
here?
the misery and the loss more than you are. Stop with this cynical bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It is easy for you because you don't have to be earnest in this side of the debate. You have to...
That's what I chose.
Well,
to
I
be
think
on this
also
side of
like
the debate.
your debate is leaning on
I didn't get to choose.
like the sort of like mystic spiritual quality of parenthood. Let's like strip that away for a second. Like
No,
if you
'cause
leave
then we
dogs,
don't win, Chris.
If you leave dogs in the backyard, they hump and produce. Like it's not a particularly like.
Yeah, it is exactly right. It is a
like
primal,
taking a shit.
Animalistic.
That costs you
hormonal,
money.
animalistic drive that most people have. Not everyone, but most people have. And it is not immoral to reproduce. And if it's not immoral, then it should be allowed.
But why is it not immoral? Like we
there's
have
no-
finite research. Let's
Okay,
so let's
well,
shift the debate
firstly,
to
there is-
what you're having kids into currently.
That's what I was gonna say.
You're
Okay.
manufacturing soldiers for the war against China that's coming up.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're doing by having children.
Okay,
now.
but then you
seen
could say
Terminator?
that at any point. Like if you go back far, like to the beginning, like the people that thought that and went extinct were the Neanderthals. They were like, fuck it. Like
No,
if we
they
keep
didn't.
having
We
kids,
killed them. That's how the
Yeah.
Neanderthals
No,
expired.
they just stopped reproducing.
I think their brains are too big. They
And-
couldn't. Their brains are. They couldn't get enough food. Is my understanding of why the Neanderthals.
I thought we
died.
killed them all.
Yeah, I think they just basically
The-
couldn't sustain themselves. I don't think they stopped having kids. I don't think they had a debate
They
like
did.
this. I don't think Hamad was in
They
charge.
literally did stop
I was actually
reproducing.
there.
Oh, were you there?
I was there with
Oh,
Moses.
sorry,
Harmless.
I hate to speak for you.
They literally did stop reproducing, except for the ones that went fucking humans, and then they got to exist through us.
Yeah, but that's fine. I'm not actually worried about.
And now
the
they have to
extinction of
sit
the
in
human
cubicles and
But-
be
but
stuck
to
in
me-
traffic.
You have kids yourself?
I have one beautiful daughter. Love her to bits, man.
But
And how do you? So you don't have any form of connection with her or anything?
No, of course I do. This is just a random internet bullshit debate. Like I can have a connection with my daughter and a good relationship with her and still think the concept of having children is absurd.
Is that so? You think that having kids for every human on the planet is absurd?
Well, I
You
think
shouldn't have kids.
especially in the first world, like you have like access to an almost limitless privilege. Like explore some art, make something interesting. Like anyone can just rut in the gutter and squirt out a child. It's not particularly magnificent. Like
Yeah, I'm
they-
sure
create some art.
Yeah, well, I'm sure having a child is one of the biggest artistic forms you can do.
Yeah.
It is the most artistic. You're pushing a life form out of your vagina.
That's
Yeah.
you don't have to.
And then you got to raise that thing, and you got to cultivate that.
Yeah, but it's not
psychology,
like-
you gotta go to a certain way. You got to direct. It's like a Tamagotchi. You know what I mean? Like an ultimate.
No, you
Tamagotchi.
don't got to do anything. You can just fuck off to the pub.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
true.
You can
true.
do
But
that.
that's-
And even less people can do it well.
But hold on, no, that's an interesting point you raised because that was linked to the next thing I was going to say. Because we all have the desire in us to, as Chris eloquently puts, just rut like dogs in the backyard. It's like I would do that all the time if I could.
We
But
know
like,
you would, buddy. We know you would.
But like clearly the desire to actually raise children, the way we do it is probably pretty unique to humans. And to say that it's like we live in this difficult time, we've actually in respect to everything of finite resources, is we've actually always lived in that zone. Like if you study anything about history, the constant in history is that they've actually always existed in a time of finite resources. They just didn't have the means to extract certain resources and make more, like through industry and such. And people have already lived through plagues, wars, famine all the time. People have been having children through much, much more difficult circumstances and raising children through much more.
I'm not going to say much more. Well, that probably much more difficult, but very, very different. Like they're like global warming, dude. The world's over anyway. In what do we got? 20 years, something like that.
Like the
And
Ice Age wasn't hard?
And people are it was hard. I'm saying.
Yeah, but you guys
they
are
more
forgetting one
difficult.
thing. Artificial intelligence. The singularity is coming, and then we are facing the obsolescence of Homo sapiens.
But that's all in the future. It's
Yeah, that's where
can't-
your
That's
children
where
will
your
reign,
children
will grow.
live. Your children live in the future. You know that, right?
Yeah, but by that token, it's
That was
like
snarky, and I liked it.
by that token, it's like by that same token, we should have given up many previous times throughout history. Sorry, by that token, we should have given up many previous times throughout history.
agree.
It's like
Yeah, we should have.
We
Yeah.
should have given up
Thank
at the
you.
Black Plague. We
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
given up
Definitely.
when the Mongols invaded.
Yeah.
We should have given up at the fall of
They
the
also
Roman
didn't, but
Empire.
they also didn't know those things were coming. They didn't have the common sense. They didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have the understanding that we have now. We know what's going to happen now. We have better scientists. We have better understanding. People live for too long. People live for too long now. They lived for 30 years back then. Then they got to our age.
But life
just
is always
carved it,
life
and
is
everyone
always
just
a respective struggle.
moved on.
It's
but
like they
now,
always knew there was something deadly on the horizon.
how tall can the buildings get
But-
to fit people in? How deep can we dig underground
Okay,
for people to
what
live in?
you're
How many
saying there
fucking
about
people, how many
the
people can we have?
length-
Too many people, guys.
The
met
length of
people, by the
lives
way.
was actually factually incorrect. Yes, lots of people would die, in their 30s or 40s, but the length of people's lives was they could still get to their 80s and 90s.
The average
but the average
lifespan,
life,
though?
but that is because of child mortality. More children were dying in previous periods than there are now. We've got excellent child mortality rates because they're the lowest than they've probably ever been. And also the quality of life in most places and the satisfaction rating for most places are like it's over 6 in most areas, which is satisfying for most people. It's worth being alive. So saying, oh my gosh, everything's so dire and wrong is just factually incorrect. Also, you don't know that the singularity is coming. That would...
Yeah, that was like a Terminator quote. The singularity is coming, the world is ending.
It looks pretty dire. It looks pretty shitty.
Yeah, artificial intelligence is going to receive awareness.
Yeah,
And
but
then it's not going to need us.
Yeah, so then why make some fucking art? Why not, like, why are you saying
Because we've got to fill
spend
the
your
time
time
now, don't we?
making the art?
We've got to fill the time. We're here now. We've got to fill the time with something. It might as well be great art.
Okay, but are we actually
because-
doing it? Other people that don't have kids, are they actually spending their time making the art? No, I blame my kids on being disorganized all the
spend
time.
my time making art.
I blame my
Yeah,
kids.
we do.
Yeah,
I
we
blame
both
my
do.
kids
Yeah.
on
You're
not
looking at a couple of
like,
artists right here.
Yeah.
on being late. Yeah, fuck off. That's not true.
How dare they?
I don't know what this has become. This is no longer a debate. This is an attack.
Yeah,
And I feel attacked.
that's right. Because I don't like how eloquent you are. I don't.
Well,
I feel like I blame my kids for me not doing all the things that I want to do, but I wasn't doing them anyway. Look, most people.
Chris is doing.
Yeah.
Look, so-
Okay. And he's got a kid.
On
He's
one
doing them
side-
despite having a kid,
on one side,
which shows.
we got Chris saying that kids are these finance siphoning beasts, right? And then on this other end, you're pretty much saying that kids are these beacons for hope, motivation, and determination that get you through life and allow you to find the better things in life. Is that correct?
I wouldn't call them a beacon of hope.
Okay. What would you say?
Well, just that they're.
You said motivation. That your income goes up.
motivation.
Yeah.
They're a concrete motivation because you know that you have to look after them. You feel
Have
a
to.
sense of responsibility.
You have
Have to.
But okay, being
Like
a parent-
slaves had to
What
pick
an
pockets.
anchor. My God.
I'm not holding that. The only reason to be a parent is because you want to be. That is the only
No,
good
that's
reason.
not.
It is the only good reason is because you want to be.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Any other reason that you give is a lie. There's no good reason to be a parent. It is inherently selfish to choose to be a parent. However, once you're a parent, then basically all the decisions you make have to be selfless.
Yeah.
Up
That's
or
our
down.
point.
Okay, but because the relation, like the choice that predicated you being a parent was your own and was based on selfishness, then every choice following that appears selfless is also just self-interest. You are a parent, you are being selfless, you are doing your best, and that is a selfish investment in your children because you chose to have them.
But hold on.
And whose point are you proving here?
Selfless.
To point
Selfish.
to point.
Choosing to be a parent is selfish, and
Yeah, but
it's
I
not
think
hurting
the
you.
vast majority of parents don't choose to be parents. The
I would-
vast majority of them do it accidentally.
No, in
Is that anecdotal or is that actual fact?
the first world, I think that's wrong.
No,
People know
I
enough
have a
about.
sample size of one, me.
People have enough common sense in the first world, enough knowledge about it in the first world to make that decision, regardless. I think though I was reading this article on the way here about pretty much perspective happiness around the world, like from an objective point of view, and funnily enough, the countries with actually the lowest birth rates, like the lowest rates of birth, actually have pretty much the highest rate of mental health.
Yeah, we know.
So and these countries where they are objectively poorer but have a lower quality of life but have more children, they're actually happier. And having children, I don't think is this natural thing. This desire to have and raise children is, I don't think it's a natural thing that I don't think we should necessarily try and curb, because it's like, granted, some people don't want children.
There's so many people.
I don't.
So there's
I
2
don't
points.
want children either. But like that's not. But scientists have actually said with that conjecture, that's actually no reason to stop having children. Then you're just going to get negative population growth.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah. So
2 points, dude. So one, there's a correlation between quality of life and decrease in birth rates that happens in almost every developed country. Why does that happen? Because once you start to enjoy your life, you're like, why? I'm not going to burden myself with having children. And second of all, like people in impoverished countries who have more children may be happier, but that's not anything to do with having loads of children. That's because happiness is intrinsically linked to goal getting. And those people have an abundance of very attainable, very short-term goals that they're constantly achieving. Get food for this afternoon, get food tonight, get shelter, find a little bit here, eke out a scrap there. So like that's what feeds their happiness. So they're constantly achieving
idea
goals.
of people being more affluent and having a better quality of life though, and having less children, that's actually a very relatively new phenomenon. This is probably more to do with online technology than anything else, because you can see it throughout the rest of history. Whenever the quality of life went up in one area, so did the birth rate. Whether you look at, like Norman France or the Roman Empire or ancient Greece or Egypt or Mesopotamia, when the quality of life increases, typically throughout history, so does the birth rate. It's not the opposite. This new phenomenon is actually very, very new. It's actually never been seen before, which is a whole other different problem.
Yeah, but do you not think that's because we have more knowledge now? About
What begs the question, has anyone ever been happy until now?
And also, what standards were they using in the Roman Empire to now? Like, I doubt they had online surveys to complete. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's
what
fair.
are we comparing?
But also, it's like if the desire to have children, if no one desired to have children and desired to have not to have children was not prevalent, then gay men and lesbian couples wouldn't adopt children. They do that because it's actually a unique desire.
I'm all for
that.
adoption. Adoption's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just pick them. Take those ones. They're here anyway, right? There's nothing we can do about that now. Get those ones. Get that one. Okay, save.
Don't make more.
But
Get that one in.
Is the debate just about giving birth to children, or is it also about having children in your life, including adoption?
Having kids, just in general.
So not even birth kids.
Not even birth kids.
Okay.
No, but you can get a rescue. You can rescue a child from someone. You can get a rescue. That was a bad word. I'm a dog guy.
You can rescue me.
As long as it's one of the small breeds.
No, you can take a child. They're born already. That's my point. They're born already.
So you're on our side then. Cool.
No.
Yeah.
Adopt a 16-year-old and then send them to work for you.
Oh no, I don't. I've met 16-year-olds. I've met kids I don't want. I'm a teacher. I don't want them. That's why
I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
My mum was actually a teacher too, and she still chose to have. Well, maybe not about that last one, but she still chose to have 6 kids.
I would say
5
she
kids.
didn't, dude.
Yeah.
If you had to go honestly through her life, she was probably just making sweet love and getting pregnant.
Yeah,
There's nothing sweet about my parents' relationship. I'll tell you that right now for a fact.
I don't know, I bet your dad.
It's like,
and now you're here
and now I'm here.
with all your troubles.
Mm-hmm.
I see your point on your end of the world where you have a subjective perspective about the reality of what's going on in the world is, and you want your free time. I see that. Completely value and respect that, and I see your perspective too on this side of having kids as a form of spending time with them, loving them, and being with them. I personally think having kids is one of the best things that you can ever do on the planet. Is if you actually truly engage with the kids, so you're connected with them. You know what I mean? Like you're there, you're with them, you see what they are. It's almost a spiritual, magical relationship you have with them. The way they reflect back a reality to you, how they become teachers to you, and you almost bow to them in this masterhood.
Yeah, but you can afford that reality. A lot of people can't.
The thing is, the reason why I could afford it is not because of myself, but because of the determination, the hope, the motivation my child gives me to create a better world. So I see the world going to shits. If I see, famine going on in my area, all right, fuck it. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to help. I'm going to bring money in. I'm going to feed the famine in the area. I want to create change. I'm not going to look at it as I'm a victim and I can't do anything because the world's going to shit. No, my daughter's coming up in this world. She's going to come up in a world that I'm creating. So that's how I see it. So it gives me power, to be honest. And I think if a lot of fathers can employ that'd be good. That's how I see it.
Or to point out just one more thing as well.
We
get
get point out
into
one more thing as well.
philosophy,
you
like
gotta put it out there,
just to
'cause
get
I'm
into kind of
hard at
some
things.
kind
Don't
of,
worry, I got it.
you know, this is going to sound kind of gay, but to like to kind of get into something, children are a huge opportunity to like, I think, refine yourself. And that's actually reflected in many cultures. It's like you only need to like, it's no coincidence that like ultra-Orthodox Jews are all jewelers, bankers, and landlords, and their children do the same thing.
Orthodox, UOJ as we call them.
Yeah.
Bloody everywhere.
Exactly.
Top of the pyramid.
Pretty much. Yeah, ultra-Orthodox.
Holy
The photo
dooly.
boss.
Oh
That's
my
what they're
God.
called, man.
Really?
Yeah, man.
It's like a Tekken player.
I seriously don't think I get into like Jewish conspiracy theories all the time.
Yeah, you got heavy 4chan energy on that side of the room.
Exactly. But no, like they do. They refine themselves through their children. And I think if there's any desire to refine yourself or better yourself, I think a huge opportunity is to do it through your children. You know, I've had this conversation with my brother. He's got 3 sons himself, and he chose to have every single one of them. And it's a lot. I've got nearly 10 nieces and nephews now, and we breed a lot.
Shut up.
And the other thing too is that all of my siblings say the same thing. It's like this is a huge opportunity. Children are an opportunity to like correct things that have not been corrected, that should be corrected. Like ultimately, that's what it is. You know, our mothers, I don't know what your mother grew up in, but like my mother was raised in a house which was, you know, domestic abuse was an element. And then, you know, she was in a marriage where domestic abuse was an element. It's like all of her children have the opportunity to correct that through their children. True. You know, and their grandchildren. It's like, otherwise, like,
Yeah, in your family, because it's a healthy family. But
exactly.
That's not as common as you'd hope.
So you want to just have these like sort of emotional slaves, like
they're not
these
emotional
people-
slaves. They're emotional refinement. It's like you can make
what choice did you give them in that equation?
Yeah, it's
Like, how
but that's
dare
why
you?
that's why children are like a duty and
outrageous.
responsibility.
That's the most insane.
You can't get consent from a non-existing entity, but the other thing
That
is...
sounds like it wouldn't hold up in court. Carry on.
Look, it's a... Okay,
It's
I don't...
non-existent. No.
It was non-existent.
It's not even real.
Okay, look, unlike you, I did all my reading in the week previous and
We know that.
I read a lot of articles on your side. So I'm trying not to fall for your trap. But basically...
No traps, boys.
No traps.
No traps.
Traps.
Thank
South
you.
Africans, man. Gotta keep one on leash.
It's not falling into my trap.
Oh no.
Having now I've totally lost track of my train of thought.
That was the trap.
Got it.
That's the whole thing. No, okay. Look, you guys, you're right. They didn't
Thank you.
ask to be
That was
born.
easy. Couldn't you have said that half an hour ago?
Man, I wish I could just show my research and just be, look, I
take-
prepared,
take-
and
take-
I should win and get points for
It's
that.
okay, you don't have to rush it
Take a
out.
deep breath.
I'm not actually flustered. I'm just tired.
Because you have kids,
Because
whatever.
I-
Carry on.
Yeah, no, but see, that's the thing. I could blame it on my kids. I could say it's my kids' fault that I'm tired, but I just stayed up late because I wanted to read. That was it. That was the whole reason. I can't really blame my kids for all my personal flaws, but I get to. And that's a joy. As a parent, I am so glad that I have people that I've got patsies built into my life.
Yeah, that is a good argument.
It is just a constant boon having these people. I'm late for work. I don't have to be like all apologetic. I can be the annoyed one. I can be like, oh my God, I can't believe my kids made me late. Can you believe it? And people feel sorry for me, even though I wasn't late because of them. I was late because I couldn't choose which shoes I wanted to wear.
I'm going to start using that excuse next time I go to work.
And how does that help like human productivity in total?
But that's not what the question is. The question is, should you have kids or not?
I-
You should have kids if you want them. If you don't want
If
them,
you
don't
want
have
to
them.
slow
Kids
down
are
human
like,
productivity and grind the whole thing about making bullshit excuses about being
human
late.
productivity-
But human productivity isn't my business. It's if on a personal level, if you want to
I gotta
have
work
kids,
tomorrow. It's just-
I don't care. It's not my problem. If you want to have kids, you should have kids. It's like butt sex. If you want butt sex, you should have butt sex. No one should force you to have
But I
butt
haven't tried
sex.
it.
Maybe next time. I haven't tried having kids.
This is what you can do when you have no kids.
Yeah.
Real quick. It's also.
Man, when do we get a turn?
Would you like to say anything?
No, you go first.
Before? You sure?
Yeah.
They were already winning. Don't give them a
Sure.
chance.
Thank you.
No, but also any culture throughout history worth recording has pretty much said the same thing in regards to having children. And these are cultures, and you can say what you want about them, but these were people who thought long and hard about it. From ancient Jews, Mesopotamians,
Oh.
Chinese.
And what are the ultra ancient Jews?
What is with you and Jews?
I really feel
I read a lot, man.
yeah,
It all
yeah,
comes
yeah.
back to them. But
yeah.
ultimately, they all say the same thing about having children.
They say
and
they're
that
Jewish,
it's
yeah.
ultimately it's a responsibility to not only yourself but the people around you to have children. It's love and actually duty and social responsibility is continued through children. Now, you shouldn't have children if you don't want them. But if you have a desire to have children, it's if you should do it because it ultimately will benefit the people around you. It's a spreading of love. It's a continuation of legacy for many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you might die.
I will die.
Yeah, you will. But do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
think
Do any
so.
of them have children?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If they
Poor
Yeah.
bastards.
if they die, if your sibling died tomorrow, it's you would still have this opportunity to have something to remember them by, their children.
They're good boys too. I think
Exactly.
one of them's a girl. I don't know.
Yeah. People are changing their minds these
Super
days. bro.
close.
Yeah.
Super close.
Yeah. So you have this opportunity to actually continue love and continue legacy after your brother is gone. And that's what I see my nieces and nephews as. It's once I lose my brothers and sisters, they're all older than me. They'll probably in all likelihood die before me. Maybe not the way I live, but they will pretty much once they are gone, I'll actually have the opportunity to get closer and remember my siblings through their children, you know, and they'll want to know about their parents too, probably.
All right, cool. Guys and girls, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment who you think won. Is it Team South African on the right?
Oh.
Honorary.
Sorry.
You're South African.
Team Orange on the
think so.
left.
Team Orange.
Yeah.
That's what you get. That's your identity.
He's not orange.
Brothers, boys.
Team Jewish conspiracy
Could be.
theory. on
No, that's just you.
Okay.
So
That's
drop a
just me.
comment in who you think won, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe.